evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Pinner. All the lights are currently lit here on track. And it is go, go, go!
Contact through the Mercedes teammate.
Donoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a little while since I've been on your screens. It's not been so long since Tom was last on your screen, but welcome back to PSGL. It is the last race on F124. Praise the Lord. But we still have a championship to decide. Okay. You kind of may have an idea as to which direction it's going in, but it is still up for grabs mathematically, and we've been crunching those numbers. But first and foremost, before we get into all of those talking points going into tonight, first and foremost, Tom, how are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this. Might not be the closest championship finale that we were perhaps expecting or even hoping for at one stage of the season, but we have a battle on our hands. We're at the real-life season finale of Abu Dhabi, a fitting way to sign off from F124, and hopefully with Epic Vale, who leads by 13 points, having a qualifying ban, it will just make things a little bit more interesting for us.
Indeed, yes. A qualifying ban coming into this round. Not ideal for Epic Vale, who have his work cut out for him to undo the damage that causes for his race. I believe possibly ETA Unk. No, I thought it was Epic Vale, but it's not. So we have a bit of a meme driver in tonight. In the form
an imposter.
Yes, in form of ETA_Unk, who we've been trying to decipher who it is the entire time. Still none the wiser. But, as you say, championship technically still on the line. 13 points between. And as you were saying in our kind of like pre-stream chat, pretty much got to be first or second, Matteo. And if he is second, he's got to have pole or the fastest lap to actually even have a chance. And that would be if Epic Vale fails to score, which, based on the fact we've got a reduced grid as well, going to make it a little bit easier to cut through the field.
It will. There's only 5 scenarios for our Matteo if he does want to win this championship, and I'm guessing the fact that we have only got one Alpine, that Matteo is ETA Unk. But yeah, winning the race with pole position and fastest lap, Epic Vale has to finish P5 to win the championship. Winning the race with pole position or fastest lap, Epic Vale has to finish P6. If he just wins the race, Matteo, then Epic Vale has to be P7. If he comes second with fastest lap and pole position, Epic Vale has to be P9. And if he's P2 with just pole position or fastest lap, Epic Vale has to finish P10. If our Matteo is just P2, he does not win the championship. So basically, it's a tall order.
It's pretty much a first or nothing scenario for Matteo, because if you're in that second place, it's really going to be difficult, because the moment Epic Vale gets a point or two, that is it. It is all curtains for your chance of taking that P1 spot. He's got a good opportunity with that qualifying ban, and we won't have far until we find out who is looking good here, because we are already readying up and getting into towards qualifying. We're just waiting for Ryder Dow to load into, but we will now be able to, in just a moment's time, take you trackside nice and soon. Epic Vale has already retired, and the final qualifying session of the season.
And 14 taking part. Not quite as many as we maybe would have hoped. Obviously, Epic Vale taken out of the equation already. But still, we should have quite the shootout for pole on a track where it's pretty high speed, and we should be expecting those gaps at the end of our 18-minute qualifying session to be very, very small indeed. If you remember back to Silverstone a few weeks ago, a track that's not too dissimilar to Abu Dhabi, the top 8 were separated by less than a tenth of a second. I would not be surprised if we see something similar here. Ryderdale's been disqualified for going the wrong way, so already we're down to Azim's been disqualified as well. So people clearly just want to start from the back, which is absolutely ideal. We've got a 12-man qualifying session now, which just makes things all the more exciting. If you're new to PSGL, first of all, where have you been? Absolute disgrace. Everybody's taking out the brake marker boards as well. We have our 80-minute short qualifying session. You can use as many of the soft tyres as you want because we will have a lobby reset after qualifying to turn back on collisions because we run with those off in qualifying as well. So nobody can gain an advantage from any slipstreaming, and so we don't have any collisions on our qualifying laps either. So with that lobby reset, all of the soft tyres will be returned to the drivers post-qualifying, which should make for some slightly more interesting strategies. All of the brake marker boards being destroyed by Dirk, along with the bollards on the apexes of a couple of corners. Apexes or apeces? I'm not 100% sure on that.
Well, who knows? Let's not get into technicalities, though, because the drivers don't really seem to be taking many technicalities themselves. They seem to be having a bit more fun than they are anything else, but Dirk, the first man to begin a flying lap here of the Yas Marina circuit, and he's got his work cut out for him today. He has obviously got his teammate, which many teams are lacking tonight, but by no stretch is it going to be smooth sailing, because when you've got a reduced and a smaller grid, everyone kind of throws the rules a little bit more out of the window and maybe takes a few liberties that they may not ordinarily. So no doubt we're in for a little bit of a pear-shaped one, I think, tonight, but it's only going to be, I think, quite funny, if I'm totally honest. I am looking forward to it, but we've still got a qualifying session to go. Dirk is on a lap. It's not necessarily the best lap in the world, but hey, he's not exactly got a huge amount of competition. He's only got 11 other drivers to try and fight against it.
Yeah, if you don't qualify in the top 10 here, you're probably going to be quite disappointed. Now, and imagine this banker from Dirk, who's actually going to bail, and had a massive tail snap coming through turn number 9. Obviously, recently reprofiled back in 2021 as his teammate Max Wondergeest is the first to take the line, set the first lap of the session 21.7, and Ryan in the Red Bull faster by just 0.02 of a second, and Brando a further 10th back. Belli now to the top of the timing chart. Scratch that, it's Francesco Largo. Time's coming in thick and fast. We've got Lifeboat who's bailed on their lap. Track limits could be a bit of an issue, especially on pit entry. That's a little bit of a funny one with this game. Oscar jumping up into P4. It's Alex Lofer, who has taken a few pole positions so far this season, that currently leads the charge on a 1:21.4, and just like that, all of the drivers have set their times or they've invalidated and returned to the pits. Quick as a flash, we are through the first runs of the session. We also need to talk a little bit about the Constructors' Championship as well, because you mentioned the two Williams cars that are taking part. We've also got two McLarens. Now, there is a big battle to try and not pick up the wooden spoon, and funnily enough, it's between the three most legendary teams in F1. Ferrari in 8th place with 29 points, McLaren in 9th with 26, and Williams in 10th with 25. Now, there's only one Ferrari taking part today. That could be a little bit of a disadvantage for the Scuderia. Up at the front, there is still technically a battle for the Constructors' Championship, although Kick Sauber leading the way on 84 points. They have two drivers, 13 clear of Alpine, who only have one, and that is Armateus. They're going to have to do some very heavy lifting. Mercedes are, 18 points back on 66. They have both drivers here, but that is quite the mountain for them to climb. Same for Aston Martin, a point further back. and they only have Francesco Largo. So they are, I think, guaranteed to be out of the equation. So lots of different variables that are going to be taking place. Should talk about Volokonga as well, currently 9th of the 9 times that we've got. Is the only driver that has taken part in all 8 events and scored in all 8 events. That is quite the record to have.
Indeed, a good record to have as well. We're used to mentioning maybe some other worse and more poor records, but it's good to talk about a driver who's in form and had a good season, and yeah, definitely going to be a season to remember. Maybe not a game cycle to remember, and maybe not the views or the racing necessarily the most representative of these drivers' pure potential, but hey, you deal with the cards you're dealt, and well, I'm sure they'll all already be looking to F1 25. I'm sure plenty of these drivers have even got their hands on that beta and have already been trying to find out where they stack up, because these drivers, they've just got that racer mentality. It's one game to the next. They're going to perform come day, night, rain or shine.
Yeah, and they need to get up to speed as quickly as possible. Dirk going for attempt number 2 in this session. 6 minutes gone. We're down under the 12-minute mark, which means a third of our qualifying session has already passed us by. And it's been a decent first set for Dirk, if unspectacular a little bit so far. Coming up to one of the most tricky sequences of corners on the track. It's the 6-7 chicane. You've got to be hard on the brakes down into the tight left of 6, and then pull it over to the left to swing it back round through turn number 7, which is a really difficult traction zone. And you've got the added difficulty of having some sausage curbs right at the apex of the corners. And if we have some side-by-side battles in the main Grand Prix, which I'm expecting we will do, that could get a little bit sketchy. Not having the same moment that he had on his first run through turn number 9, keeping it nice and smooth, dropping it down into 4th gear there and then swinging it through these right-handed kinks into the final sector. Very difficult on traction as well. In particular, the corner we're coming up to now, turn number 14, Latifi corner. And well, on the entry to 14, through actually the exit of unlucky number 13, Dirk is invalidated, and that is 2 attempts down in the nearest bin that he could find. He's going to complete the lap, so we'll get some kind of a benchmark. And he's actually done a 21.4, so would have only been a third of a tenth down on Alex Lofer's provisional pole time. So the pace is clearly there for Dirk, just needs to try and hook this lap up.
Indeed, he really does. He had good sector times, very, very strong sector times. So he was looking very good, but to no avail on that particular occasion. But Lifebout will be the next man across the line, and barreling towards the line only goes 8th, which normally would be good, but in such a small grid, it's actually not very good. You almost don't want to be kind of in the mid-pack. You actually want to be at the forefront a lot more than usual, because if you're in that mid-pack, it's showing you're pretty much bang average.
100%. Armateo also with their first representative time of the session, 21.6, jumping up into 3rd place. Realistically, needs to get pole position if he's going to have any chance of getting his hands on back-to-back PSGL PSF1 championships. The second Williams and Max von der Geest improving by a couple of tenths through the middle sector. And this could be a provisional pole time for the Williams driver. His teammate currently bringing up the rear, holding the wooden spoon as it stands, but that was a little bit messy from Max going through turns 11 and 12, taking slightly too much curb on entry, but doesn't do what his teammate did, getting very close though to exceeding track limits on the exit of 14. Now flat through 15, got to be as brave as you possibly can, and short run to the line out of the final corner of turn 16. Is this cutting the beam to take pole? No, misses out by just over a tenth of a second, but did find a quarter of a second on that previous lap. Improvements are going to start coming in. Alex Lofer's down by a couple of hundredths through the first 2 sectors. Belli improves by a tenth in the Scarlet Ferrari up into P4. Francesco Largo bails. Alex Lofer, provisional pole sitter, improving as well. Could this be a 21.3 to lower the benchmark? It's even faster than a 21.3, 21.294, and that is the time everybody is going to have to aim for. Oscar improving by, well, a very small amount through the first couple of sectors, bumped down into 7th place now, courtesy of Volokonga improving by 2 tenths, now 7th and 8th, the 2 silver arrows. Lafferty getting a 21.6 on the board, just about inside by 3 milliseconds, but Oscar very unstable, coming out of the final corner, throws all of that time that he had built up in the nearest bin that he can find, as Dirk did earlier on, and will remain in 8th position.
a lot of the drivers really putting themselves in the bin, a little bit like Alex Gillen did the other day in PCF2, if anyone caught that. It's been a long time since I watched a PCF2 race. That was an amusing watch. It was already done before it had even started for poor Alex Gillen, but oh well. What an experience I'm sure that was. But we got a really interesting, I think, race at the minute, because we're looking at this grid and I can't lie, this is a very mixed bag, because a lot of drivers maybe aren't where they should be, but that's because there's such a small, sample size here. We got 12 drivers on the road, so realistically, you're looking at someone like Ryan, who's normally top 5, in 9th. It's not bad, but given the talent around him, it's not great.
Yeah, and if you take out Alex Lofer, who is the driver that has the biggest margin over everybody else, a quarter of a second separating Alex Lofer in first and Mats van der Geest in second. It's then only 0.3 of a second separating Mats van der Geest and Brando down in 11th place. And you would imagine that Dirk is going to slot in there as well. So that would be 11 cars separated by just 0.3 of a second, which is around and about what we normally expect to see within the top 10 at a traditional PSGL qualifying session. Dirk, third time's a charm, going to try and get a lap on the board. Running out of time and running out of tyres as well. I wonder if his second lap in the session was potentially on a scrubbed set of tyres, the tyres that he made that mistake on earlier on. If you are unfamiliar with how this game works, is short qualifying. You get 3 brand new sets of the Red Stripe soft compound tyre. This is one of the shorter circuits on the calendar, one of the faster circuits on the calendar as well. So there's a potential that you could get 4 runs in, which would of course mean you'd have to use a used set of tyres. That's a little bit of a tongue twister if I've ever seen it. But to get those 4 runs and try and get yourself up to speed as soon as possible. A little bit unstable over the curbs on the run down into turn number 6, but negotiates 7 pretty nicely, and through the flat out turn number 8 up towards the newly reprofiled turn number 9. This has been decent so far.
Yes, it's looking like a good lap for Dirk. Sorry, I was eating a biscuit. I'm snackish.
Sorry to catch you a little bit short there.
Dirk is looking good across the lap. Nothing mind-boggling, but a strong sector 2 there. Only just behind Max van der Geest sector 2 time. A little bit of Alex Lofer, who's fastest in sector 1, but a good lap. Could take him quite far up the order. A bit squirrely on the exit there, but goes 4th. That's good as you like it, really. But 3/10 off Alex Lofer, who really is a bit of in a league of his own. 2.5 tenths between himself and Max van der Geest, but ETA Unk, or Matteo, as we more normally call him, goes into second place, and he's looking strong, very, very strong.
A lot of invalidations, though. Francesco Largo invalidating, as did Ryan, as did Lifebout, so pushing very, very hard. Francesco Largo has just done an invalidated 21.3, which would put him into position number 2, because he was a little bit quicker than what Matteo managed to accomplish. But yeah, just filling that gap that had formed between Alex Lofer and Max van der Geest, the reigning champion. Just needs to find a little bit more, though, if he is to get pole position and give himself that extra little bit of a boost in his belated and slightly unrealistic championship push. Epic Vale is going to be, of course, starting from the back. He's actually going to be starting P13 rather than 15, with Azim and Ryderdale both being disqualified. Whether that's a bit of an ET8 tactic, with one of them the teammate of Epic Vale and the other one in the same racing clan, we will have to wait and see. But interesting if it does work out for them. Anyone on a flying lap at the moment? Volokongen's just gone fastest in the first sector, currently residing in 9th place at the moment. Those 2 Mercedes cars just about nestled inside the top 10, around about 3.5 tenths off the outright pace. Brando on a lap as well, slowest of all still on that 21.8, half a tenth down on Lifebout in P11. Coming through the middle sector split is only up by 1/10 of a second, so maybe Brando just struggling a little bit for 1 lap pace.
Well, Bell nearly set an improvement, ran wide out the final corner, and as a result, was not able to set that lap time. Alex Lofer, though, will now come across the line. Will set a faster lap time, only by 1/10, though, so not mind-boggling of an improvement, but he already had a really good benchmarker on the board. He doesn't need to stress it too much. Brando goes up into 6th place though, and Volokongan, who's in 10th at the moment, is on a decent lap time, but a really poor exit there on the final bend, and well, not happy with that, and decided the front wing was the problem, so decided to remove it, which I think is a bit of an interesting interpretation, but hey, he has done it now. But we are very much approaching those final flying laps now, and we should see everyone peeling out of the pit lane, and we've got 12 cars all in contention for pole position here. Okay, there's 6.5 tenths separating the field, but quite a lot of invalidations. I think the true pace of everyone is a little bit closer than first meets the eye.
100%. It's going to be really interesting to see if anybody can make that step, because Alex Lofer at the moment has seemed to be in a league of one out in front, done 3 qualifying laps, and I think all 3 of them would be fast enough to take pole. Maybe not the first one, it was a 21.4. I think Armateo might be just a little bit quicker than that initial lap that Alex Lofer set right at the start of the session, but 2 laps already that are quick enough for pole position and quick enough by over a tenth of a second. So putting a marker down, can't yet win the championship in this final race, but looking to finish strongly, because he did win a few weeks ago in Silverstone, backed that up with a 2nd place. But then last week in Mexico, didn't quite go his way, didn't get off the grid actually, so plummeted from 3rd on the grid down into last. Managed to come back to finish 9th in what was a bit of a chaotic race, it had to be said. Brando retiring in the pits, obviously deciding there's not enough time to get that car turned around to go once more. I think Volokongan is going to be in a very similar boat, HMS, no time left.
Indeed, yes. Well, plenty of time left in the session for the likes of Ryan, Dirk, Francesco Largo, Max van der Geest, Lifebow, Oscar and Matteo, who are all out on the circuit already. And they're probably going to be the only drivers who will get a run in. I think Bell, who has just gone out, isn't going to have enough time in hand without a few corner cuts to make it to the line. But even with corner cuts, I don't think you're making it to the line in time there. But you are going to very shortly have drivers blasting around for one final time in this on this game cycle, let alone in this season. It is Ryan who brings up the front of this pack across the line, and a critical final lap of his qualifying session coming up, and an important one for the bragging rights for the season. Who gets that all-important final pole and gets to maybe go home laughing a little bit more about a strong end to the season? Because it doesn't matter where you are at the start, it more matters where you finish. But these drivers will be doing everything they can to try and make sure they end the game cycle on a high. Looking good for Ryan so far in the lap. It's looking very nicely planted, very much under control. No real slides there in the car as well. He's on to a good and solid lap so far, as now we'll go through that Sector 2 timing board. It's a 10th of a second up, but invalidation there does mean we have to turn our attention to TF10 Dirk.
We do, but Dirk is down by 0.02 of a second. Belli and Alex Lofer, perhaps not surprisingly, failing to get round in time, so the provisional pole sitter is not going to get a second opportunity to try and lower the benchmark even further, and it is up to the likes of Armateo, Max van der Geest, Francesco Largo and co to try and steal a march right at the end of the session on the RB driver that's looked so comfortable so far. Ryan over the line, obviously invalidated. Can Dirk find an improvement? Jumps just ahead of his teammate, but Max van der Geest has invalidated as well. Not going to be able to respond. Francesco Largo round the final corner, cuts the beam onto the front row. Still a 10.5 down on Alex Lofer, but a nice improvement there. What can the Papaya McLaren of Lifeboat do? Excellent final sector. Found 0.4 of a second to his personal best. That's another 21.3, and from 12th up to 3rd. We wait now for Armateo, who is down by a 10.5.
Indeed, yeah. Oscar's lap looking really scrappy and not very spectacular at all. He will come around the final bend. I don't expect it to be an improvement, but what can he manage? He will come up to the line. He goes up to 7th, so that's an improvement and definitely takes him up a few places. But now Matteo, final driver, across the line. I have no sector times for where he was in that session, but he crosses the line and stays fourth, so not an improvement for him. Alex Lofer, the man on fire, was on fire the entire way through. Francesco Largo and Lifebout, your top three.
So now we know if Epic Vale manages to come through from 13th to finish 6th, he will claim the title. Guaranteed, no matter what happens to Armateo. Alex Lofer, Francesco Largo, Lifebout, Armateo. I'm struggling with that ETA. The two Williams, ahead of Oscar Brando, Belbelli, Lafferty, Ryan, and Volakongan bringing up the rear. And then the two Kick-Saubers with a McLaren in between them, not setting times.
The one best thing about this is I don't have to scroll through the results because, well, there's that few drivers that there's no need to scroll, which I think
Much easier.
It's easier for me, which is always appreciated. But yeah, we've got a real race on our hands. We're going to take a short advertisement break. We'll be back on the other side. We will, when I've actually clicked it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and, well, number crunching is being done. We're discussing all of the ramifications of that qualifying session as well. We're just waiting for the lobby restart to be sorted, done and dusted. I expect that's going to probably be quite a quick restart, hopefully. Quickest lobby restart of the season. But, yeah, very, very easy. Should be quite smooth sailing, you would like to think, but hindsight, as always, a very wonderful thing in the world of motor racing.
It is. We love a bit of hindsight, don't we? And I think Armateo will be thinking, what if I just could have found an improvement right at the end of the session? We didn't quite catch the first part of the lap, so whether he made a mistake somewhere, was a tenth and a half down through the first couple of sectors and couldn't pull any of it back in the final sector. Maybe he used up his 3 sets of new soft tyres in his first 3 runs, and then for his 4th run, if he did do 4 runs, was on a used set and couldn't find the improvement because he didn't have the grip or the life left in the tyre. So very interesting dynamic. Obviously, like we said at the start, they get these red strap soft tyres back because we have the lobby reset. We also turn collisions back on because that would be a 29 lap time trial event, which I don't think anybody has signed up to, drivers or spectators alike.
No, last time I checked, I did want a little bit of action and racing. Unlike what we saw at the 2025 Japanese Grand Prix, I do like a bit of racing and a bit of action. But lobby restart firmly underway. I've restarted my game as well. So I will get all of that lovely graphics, telemetry, and all of that awesome good stuff going into this one.
Wonderful.
But they really are just gonna, hopefully, quick restart. We'll be straight in for what's gonna be, already ready up, been given by Ryan. Quickest lobby restart of the season.
Yeah, just as a warning, just make sure you are spectating. Otherwise, that could create a very interesting dynamic. I think it's fair to say. Just to go through before we start, there are only 3 scenarios where Armateo can win the championship, or 3 results that he can finish. So if he's second with fastest lap, Epic Vale will have to be 10th or higher. If he wins the race without fastest lap, Armateo, Epic Vale has to be 7th or higher. And then, like we said earlier, if Armateo wins the race with fastest lap, Epic Vale will have to finish 6th or higher. Which isn't going to be that easy from 13th on the grid, but the caveat is Armateo basically has to win the race because I find it very unlikely that Epic Vale isn't going to find himself inside the top 10. Only once this season he's failed to score points. That was a P15 at Spa in round number 3. And for the last 5 races, he hasn't finished outside the top 5. And out of all of the races, with that 15th place, there's only one other finish outside the top 5, which was a 6th place in Brazil round 2.
Yeah, he has really been one of the many men on form, but we won't have long until we find out those all-important answers and finally crown our champion, even if it does look a little bit likely as to who it's going to be. Well, we will know who the champion is for real in not very far away at all. We are getting ready and good to go here, and we'll be able to take you trackside in just a few moments' time. But with it being the final round, it does unfortunately mean that it is the final time that we will be representing GT Omega for the foreseeable future. It has been an amazing time to work with GT Omega. This is not an ad read, this is a personal message from me, but it really has been an amazing partnership that spanned many, many seasons, and I've had great chats with the people over at GT Omega over the years as well. So, if you are thinking of buying any GT Omega gear or anything like that in the next little while, make sure to use code PSGL to get 5% off whilst you still can, because that is not going to be there for that much longer. But with all of my rambling and little advert break in and done and dusted, we can now take you trackside to the final round of the season, Tom. It is scary.
When's the last time you're going to say those words? For quite a while, I would imagine. Of course, we've had the reset. Everybody needs to get their strategies sorted. The setups need to be reloaded back onto the car. You would imagine these guys are running something close to esports setup. So if they are left with the default, they are going to be significantly off the pace. And they are going to be absolutely cursing their luck. And they also need to sort out the fuel loads as well, because that will make a significant difference to their pace. It's going to be an interesting one. 50% races on this game traditionally are always a one-stop race, unless we perhaps see a late safety car come to cause a little bit of havoc. It's going to be very interesting to see how this one unfolds.
Yes, a bit like origami, possibly. That's going to be how it unfolds. Yes, that's my analogy for this round. It's going to unfold like origami. No idea what spurred me on to think that, but we've gone with it, and we're going to stick with it now. But obviously, being a night race, it starts in kind of this almost awkward dusk point where the sun can get a little bit in the driver's eye. So they've got to keep the concentration up as well. Because they've got 29 laps to do. They've got a little bit of an awkward phase with the sun in their eyes to begin with. But then as the race goes on, it should really calm down, head towards those kind of nighttime conditions. As expected, no rain for the race, which is the biggest surprise ever. Wow, Yas Marina not seeing rain. Who would have thought? But setups going on, strategies being decided, conversations being had as well, I'm sure. We're only moments away from this race. The final one of 24.
I would have paid quite a lot of money if the organisers, the race organisers, just went, do you know what? Should we just throw some rain in there for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix? If we were at Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, or Yas Marina, as we are now, some rain would have been fun. But as it is, we are in the dry. We have 5 red lights. And for the final time, not just in season 39, but on F1 24, we are racing at Yas Marina. One of the shortest runs down to turn 1, but that's not going to stop Francesco Largo. Not going to halt his charge one bit as he launches it up the inside of Alex Lowe for the pole sitter. But I think the RB is just about going to hold off around the outside and repel that first attack from the green machine behind. Armateus picked up a place, getting past Papaya McLaren of Lifebout, and on the move, trying to swing it now around the outside of Francesco Largo, but Lifebout's back for a little bit more. The two Williams dueling just in behind, massive slide coming out of turn number 5. I think that was Francesco Largo, and it's going to be vulnerable significantly to a couple of cars coming down this straight towards the braking zone of turn number 6. Look at him darting over to the left-hand side, though. There's a huge gaggle of cars, a kaleidoscope of different car colours, and around the outside, Alex Lofer, I think, is once again going to repel the assault from the Aston Martin.
Yes, I saw some debris flying. I've just realised there's no game audio, and I've just realised why. So, there we go. Game audio has returned. I can now suddenly hear what's going on in game, and we're all back. I saw a bit of carbon fibre flying, I think, off of a car. I have no idea who that was off of, though, but Matteo is doing a good job at the moment, but Epic Vale has got himself into the top 10. You'll see he's there, already up a few places, up into 10th on the grid, and that's where he needs to be, really. He needs to just be, even if he's in the lower points paying positions, if he's there, that's going to be good enough for him and his chances of sealing off this championship that he has looked in control of for quite a little while, but he is doing a very solid job at present, but plenty of time for things to change, and Epic Vale is putting on quite a bit of pressure here onto the back of Azam.
Yeah, looking to try and get through this field as soon as possible, not leave himself with a little bit of heavy work to do right at the latter stages. For example, if Mateo finds himself in the lead with the fastest lap, does not want to have to be scrambling to try and make moves at the latter stages of the Grand Prix to get up into that magic number 6 position, as Francesco Largo making a move down the inside, car off in the background, smashing into the polystyrene barriers. I think it was one of the Williams, potentially Dirk, just missing his braking zone and making sure it didn't clatter into the rear diffuser of his teammate. Once again, Alex Lofer doing very, very well in his defence to hold on to the lead of the race. Mateo lurking very menacingly in the rearview mirrors of both of these leading 2 cars as they duel once more, this time around the outside of turn number 9, and Francesco Largo seemingly has a foothold here. He hasn't just got a foothold, he's got the lead of the race for the very first time.
Indeed, yeah, and you see a scrap there in the background between Bell and Brando as well, which has invited Azam into the fold. He'll now make a move up into 8th. Epic Vale will then make a move for 9th, as Brando nearly slips out of the points here and close to being overtaken by Oscar for that final points paying position here. There's a lot of scrapping and squabbling going on across the field, and interestingly, the Williams drivers, they're not really, I think, being able to use those medium tyres as effectively as I think they may have hoped. They're not really making much in terms of an inroad on Lifebout, Matteo, Lofer and Francesco Largo. So they've really got to maybe try and unleash a little bit of pace out of those tyres, because they will struggle otherwise.
100%, and we need to caveat as well by saying we know the hard tyres on F124 are a very good tyre. Mats van der Geest late on the brakes, now under pressure from his teammate, almost smashed into the rear of the Papaya McLaren of Lifebout, but just about holding on to 5th position, although Dirt still has just a little bit of his nose alongside, coming through the flat-out turn number 8, but having to concede defeat just for the time being. But look at this, the Scarlet Ferrari getting involved. Williams trying to make sure they don't finish bottom of the Constructors' Championship. The battle for the lead continues to rage on as well. The top 4 nose to tail. Then it's this lovely little scrap that's still in the middle of Mats van der Geest and Bell Belly having to go defensive, which put him offline down to turn number 12, because Bell Belly looking very menacing indeed. Nazem always looking to shape up for an opportunity, but now he's going to have to defend, because late on the break goes Epic Vale, not afraid to make a move, as we saw a week ago in Mexico, but was unsuccessful in his attempts to do so. I think Epic Vale does have quite a few friends in this race, considering what we saw in qualifying. Bit of a wobble coming out of the final corner, though. Could leave him vulnerable down into turn number 1. Not a traditional overtaking point, and Brando probably smartly not opting to send it up the inside and potentially cause a crash that could end Epic Vale's hopes of trying to become a champion.
Indeed, a risky move as well. Dive into turn 1. Not a very, as you were saying, a conventional overtaking opportunity, and really not somewhere you want to risk unless you really have the overspeed and pace to do so, which, whilst I think Epic Vale is fast, he's not turn 1 dive bomb fast, absolutely no doubts about that one, but plenty of squabbling going on as Max van der Geest battles with Lifebout. He'll be a little bit off kilter on the exit. Could be susceptible to his teammate here, Dirk, who could think about a move into the top 5. But actually, Max van der Geest, despite a bit of a shaky exit, had a very punchy exit off of the corner, was quite close to life bow on that, and towards the next corner, and actually slings it around the outside here. Can he hold it? He can't quite hold it, but Max van der Geest, he's now beginning to show what those medium tyres can do.
Yeah, looking to make his move in the very soon future, but couldn't quite make it stick around the outside of life. But I think the McLaren was just late enough on the brakes to hold off that attack, as Epic Vale did just have fastest lap before his teammate, interestingly enough there, snatching it out of his hands. And Dirk very close to the back of Max van der Geest. He's been tucked up underneath the rear wing of his teammate for a while, and Max just seems to be making a couple of mistakes, a couple every lap. He was slightly deep into turn number 1 just then. He was also deep on the previous lap into turn number 6 and 7, which we saw compromised not only his run but his teammates' run as well. Another attempt for Epic Vale to try and get ahead of Azam in front. Another attempt that has ended up being unsuccessful once more. The lead not changing hands either. The DRS doesn't look overly powerful. Francesco Largo looking pretty happy out in front. The Williams doing battle though down to the braking zone. I think this has been a few laps coming, and finally Dirk is up into 5th position. Doesn't look satisfied with that though, because he was lurking right behind the Papaya McLaren of life, but he was a little bit wobbly coming out of turn number 7. Are we going to see a move? Maybe he chucks it up the inside or the outside of turn number 9, but not quite quick enough in a straight line, as Belbelli still very close to the back of the other Williams and potentially forging an opportunity, because Max was slightly wide coming out of 9 but didn't quite have the overspeed, did Belbelli.
No, but a good opportunity, and showing some good awareness and racecraft there to try and think about taking the alternative line to try and set you up better for a move down into there. It's very difficult. Like these drivers, they can sometimes be very autonomous, that they forget to experiment a little bit, try something different and take that alternative line. And I think that's something that we've seen a couple of times this season. Belbelli is not afraid to use a different line and try something unconventional, and it quite often works.
It does, and we've seen a lot of drivers around the season, maybe not particularly frequently but definitely on occasion, just get their elbows out a little bit. I think Epic Vale's been the best example of it. Hasn't always been the best qualifier, and actually hasn't started inside the top 10 for the last 3 weeks, but has always been able to fight their way back through, and only once this season failing to score points. Bit of a Constantina effect down into the braking zone of turn number 6. Battles going on further back. I think that's Brando sinking his teeth into Ryderdale. It's the Haas that comes up trumps.
Ryderdale nearly clattered into his teammate. That's what nearly happened. That's why you got a bit of an all from me, because Ryderdale was trying down the inside of Brando, couldn't make it work on the inside of Brando, and as a result, and braking a bit too late, nearly went into the back of his teammate Epic Vale, who's trying to win a championship. That is not what you want to do. Could you imagine the damage that would have done to his championship had he managed to have done that? Have noticed though, there is a little bit of damage to Azam, who is running in 8th place. I can see a little bit of damage to his left end plate. I did see that fly off in his battle with Epic Vale a few moments ago. So that is the Turkish driver carrying a little bit of a wound, but these drivers, they can run with wounds and still get pretty decent results, but it's going to be even more difficult with so few drivers.
He has just had the championship leader launch it up his inside though, down into turn number 9, but good exit for Azam, and with that little bit less downforce on the front of the car, gives him a straight line speed advantage. He's able to snatch 8th place back from the championship lead. Another Constantina effect. Belbelli into the back of Max van der Geest, and Max van der Geest into the back of his teammate. The lead though does change hands for the first time since I think lap number 3. Alex Lowe for the pole sitter returning to the lead of the race. Armateo currently playing spectator in 3rd at the moment, very willing and very happy just to hold station. Epic Vale still desperately trying to get ahead of the Papaya McLaren. He tried the switch back, almost dropped it, trying to charge towards the apex of turn number 9, and once again staying in 9th position. Unable to make this move stick. Azam you would think would be a little bit slower with that front wing damage, but doesn't seem to be hampering him at all really.
Well, I think due to the changes made to the circuit, because it became a higher speed circuit, it may be advantaging him in the sense that he is carrying that little bit less drag, gets that little bit more straight line speed, so it almost negates the effect of the damage ever so slightly. It's still going to be there, and it's still going to have some impacting the cornering ability and his ability to get the car and the nose into the corner, but if he can live and work with that, he will keep himself, I think, quite fair and honest in this race. And the DRS that he'll have down these straights as well will help kind of carry him forward. So as long as he doesn't slip out of that 1 second window and can keep his kind of tyres in good nick, because you do get a little bit different tyre wear when you have damage as well. If he can do both of those, I think he's got a good chance of managing to stay with his pack pretty much the entire race, but he'll want to try and pit at the similar sort of time so he doesn't get caught out and end up in a no man's land.
Silver Civil War, outside of the points playing positions, Oscar locking his rear brakes not once but twice down into turn number 6. Very nearly took Ryderdale with him, and Volokongan saying thank you very much, currently in 12th place. And at the moment, at risk of losing that 100% point scoring record, the now lead Silver Arrow car. He definitely ran off the circuit there, and that will be a warning. And Ryderdale just picked up a 3-second penalty for corner cutting as well. So I think we are going to see some penalties thrown out. We've already got one with the second kick Sauber. I would not be surprised if we get up to maybe 4 or 5 come the end of our 29-lap Grand Prix, because there are a lot of locations on this circuit, a lot of areas where you can't exceed the track limits, notably the corner we've just gone through now, turn number 1. If you just take a little bit too much of that curb on the inside, can spit you over the curb on the outside and subsequently give you that warning.
Indeed, yeah. But weighing up his opportunities in this race, once again, Epic Vale trying to make the move on Azam. And once again, Azam hoping to get a punchy exit off the corner, but in the slipstream of the car in front, Epic Vale is in a good place, but down the inside, Azam goes, trying to hold the place versus the kick Sauber man, and he absolutely has managed to defend and re-overtake Epic Vale for that place. Punchy stuff from Azam. You would have thought he's in the championship fight, but he's just a spectator in all of this, but he is having a very fun time.
Most certainly not willing to give up that 8th position in this race. Dirk has lost a couple though, from 5th down into 7th now, as Belbelli's got in between the two Williams cars, whose medium tyres will just be starting to go off ever so slightly. Volokong has got past Brando, and to add insult to injury, the Haas is now the second driver to pick up a corner cutting penalty. And as I say, the Williams mediums are starting to go off. Dirk nearly drops it on pit entry. He is the first driver to come down pit road. We're going to see how powerful that undercut is as he sticks on the white striped hard compound tyres for what should be the rest of this Grand Prix, barring any safety cars. Lafferty running wide through turn number 1 under a little bit of pressure from Ryan in the battle for what was the wooden spoon before Dirk dived into the pit lane. Alex Lofer still comfortable out in front. Bit of a lock-up for Francesco Largo and for Matteo down into turn number 5. But all looking very serene, in particular for the Alpine. Hasn't really been under any pressure from Lifeback in the last 5 or 6 laps. And very happy just to watch the two in front trade places, as they're going to do now. Francesco Largo is now your new race leader once more.
Indeed. Azam, I think, may be feeling a little bit of pressure and a little fire up his backside, because he's in a really difficult situation now, because he had to try and gain a little bit of time to the car in front because of the Williams coming into the pit lane. So like I said just a couple of laps ago, where he could have been hung out to dry if someone pits and he's not within a second, he's almost got to do what they do to try and not disadvantage himself. He nearly got caught out by exactly that. Max van der Gies is also seemingly really struggling on his hard compound tyres, so I'm expecting to see him in at the end of this lap as well, as he absolutely does. Bell struggles as well on the exit of that penultimate corner. So Bell has now, and because of Max van der Gies pitting, there is a 1.5 second rift that has opened up between the top 4 and beyond.
And it's bigger now because Belbelli, with a lock-up down into turn number 1, pushed the Ferrari way wide of the apex and opening the gap up by another 0.3 of a second, and now locking the rears into turn number 5. This is not the time to be making mistakes, Mr. Ferrari driver. I think Azam's going to be all over this. May have a bit of front wing damage, but will be desperate to get through, as will Epic Vale. The Papaya McLaren is going to move over as Alex Lofer taking the lead back from Francesco Largo. Look at Ryder now, though, coming in like an absolute ballistic missile. Belbelli's lost a couple of places. Through goes the McLaren. It's now Ryder now trying to assault the Ferrari, which is now on the outside coming through turn number 8 and into the barrier. That was Epic Vale clattering the wall, trying to follow his teammate through. Has he got any front wing damage? Yes, missing the left-hand end plate. This is a scenario that he did not want as Volokongan files through as well. The championship leader is currently in a bit of strife.
Indeed, and the disadvantage as well here is Epic Vale. With that damage, he's not used to having damage to the car. Someone like Azim, who's had that damage for a couple of laps, he's almost began to negate it with his driving. He knows how to drive with that damage. Epic Vale, though, this is his first time he's picked up damage in this race, so he may struggle for the next couple of laps.
And he's not going to get up to the leading group of four, which contains the one driver that can get the championship away from him. So Epic Vale could be relying on something happening to our Mateo, whether that's him staying in third place and unable to get up into second or indeed first, or he's going to be, left twiddling his thumbs come the end of this Grand Prix and basically waiting it out to see what happens. It's not necessarily in his hands anymore with that front wing damage. Whether he fixes it at his next stop, that's going to be very interesting indeed. And you can kind of blame his teammate Ryder now, really. Tried to force his way through, muscled his way through as Francesco Largo takes the lead back, but almost makes a bit of a meal of it. This battle going to continue to rage on in this incredibly congested midfield. Volokongan was 13th only a few laps ago. Now has battled his way through up into 7th place. Really good drive in this middle stint for the Mercedes car. Epic Vale still residing in 9th place ahead of the two Haas cars. But yeah, it was Ryder who made it 3 wide down into turn number 6 on the previous lap. That just balked Epic Vale a little bit, put him offline, maybe spooked him slightly as well. And then he tried to then follow his teammate through the flat turn number 8, but I don't think Belbelli saw it coming, and that was when he had a bit of a chat with Barry R.
Indeed, I like that. Barry R.
It's not an original. It's
definitely not
from many other people.
But it's a good one. But an interesting thing looking at my timetable for who's where, what sector times are being set, laps, and all of that shenanigans. Epic Vale has 3 warnings so far in this race, so presumably at least one of those is a warning for contact, but that would also indicate that he's probably got a warning for track limits. Matteo, no warnings at all, so he is nowhere near a penalty at the moment. So it indicates that there's maybe a little bit of an internal struggle going on for Epic Vale as well, as there is a change for the lead. Let's cut to that now as Matteo, the man who we were just mentioning, takes to the top of the order for the first time this race as well. But Alex Loafer surely will be trying to make the move back here into the next corner. And if you're Matteo, you're not going to want to fight this because it's not worth fighting at this stage in the race. He knows he's in a good place. He knows he's in the mix. And with that rift opening up between Ryderdale and Lifebout, it's going to be difficult for Epic Vale because now he's got 2 options. 5 or 6. That's pretty much it for Epic Vale at the moment, and that could even change with the 2 Williams, who are looking mega on these hard compound tyres. One of them in the 1:24s, the other in the very low 1:25s. They are gaining easily a second and a half on a lot of this field.
And Armateo would have been fed this information that Epic Vale's got a bit of damage, struggling, still bogged down in the midfield as Dirk sets the fastest lap once again. And that would just give him a bit of encouragement. As it stands right now, he won't win the championship. It'll actually end up level, I believe, with the... No, he'll end up a point behind, sorry. He'll end up a point behind. But if he takes this place from Alex Loafer, which he has done, this is now championship winning position for Armateo, with Epic Vale down in 9th. That is technically 11th with the 2 Williams cars making that earlier stop. This is suddenly becoming slightly taxing for the championship leader and maybe not the champion-elect, as Azim loses a place to Volokongan. Armateo is going to lose the lead once again to Alex Loafer. A lot of things happening, a lot of flip-flop in 4 positions. Volokongan coming on really strong in this stint right at the end of the hard tyre run. Finds himself up in 5th position. He's gained 8 places in the last 8 laps or so. Ryderdale still holding station in 6th, and then an almighty scrap between Belbelli and Azim. Is Azim going to send it up the inside? Yes, he is. Very, very careful between the pair of them. You could barely fit a playing card between the wheels and the side pod, but it's the Ferrari that comes out better off and holds 7th place with Epic Vale. Still in there, but he's going to have to start making some overtakes very, very shortly.
Indeed, yeah, and it's really looking, the pace on these hards isn't looking great. They may be a very durable tyre, but the pace at this stage really is not there for all of the drivers who are yet to pit. Max van der Geest has been gaining seconds a lap, and at the moment, if Alex Lofer was to pit, he would probably come out behind Max van der Geest, who would presumably, at the moment, as things stand, take the lead of the race. So both TF10 cars in 14th and 15th, the Williams, they are in a good place in this race. Both Haas cars going to go side by side and swap places. You don't really want to be close to your teammate when you're coming into the pit lane. If you're ahead, though, you've got first dibs of pit lane priority, but they will probably be discussing that in the between the engineers anyway. But as things stand, Alex Lofer in P1, followed by Matteo. They do keep swapping places. Then Francesco Largo and Lifebout. Then we got a bit of a gap between Ryderdale, then Volagongan, Bell Belly, then Azam and Epic Vale, Brando, Lafitte, Oscar, Ryan rounding out that next pack, but that pack is going to start to divide as they start to come in the pit lane. This is where Max van der Geest and Dirk may begin to lose out ever so slightly, because other drivers are going to be on some sticky and very grippy medium compound tyres.
And it's the reigning champion, not the reigning champion, the championship leader that pulls the trigger, and he is fixing that front wing. So going to lose, what, maybe 5 or 6 seconds in the box. The Haas also changed the front wing in front. That's Brando. Epic Vale is going to be ahead of the Haas. They're going to be, what, 15 seconds maybe behind the two Williams cars? That's a sizable margin, and I don't think that's going to be very easy to try and get back towards them, potentially even insurmountable. Yes, 16.8 seconds.
Whoa.
And if we remember back to the first stint, the mediums for the Williams drivers only did 10 laps before they were completely shot. So Epic Vale's gone for the undercut. He's also gone to fix his front wing. But is that a bit of a blunder? We'll have to wait and see how strong the track position is and how strong the undercut is as well. Can he make up the time lost by fixing that wing?
Who knows? Well, obviously it's important to consider that these cars are going to have less fuel on board, so the tyre wear is going to be less than it was at the start of the Grand Prix when they had half a tank of fuel. They've now got a quarter of a tank of fuel if you're looking at a full Grand Prix length worth. Alex Lofer, though, does come into the pit lane on the following lap, so as does quite a few other drivers. That's Ryan, Oscar and Lafitte. That's all going to be for the medium compound tyre, and it's definitely an interesting strategy to have gone this soon. I was thinking they may have tried to extend it probably until about lap 18 or 19, just to try and get as much pace out of those mediums as possible, because I don't think they're going to hold up the best between now and that checkered flag. But time will absolutely tell on that one, and time will absolutely tell as if that gap between Dirk, Max van der Geest and Alex Lofer behind is, well, as insurmountable as 5.5 seconds looks on the road. Will those hards hold up?
And critically as well for Epic Vale, himself and Brando with that front wing change, 2.2 seconds off the back of the group that he was a part of. Oscar, Lafferty and Ryan need to work very, very efficiently together to try and get back to that trio. There could be cars that filter in between the Red Bull and the Kick Sauber as well. So there is still hope yet for Epic Vale, but this is suddenly becoming a little bit dicey and a little bit more frustrating than it needed to be. The top three stay out once again. That's why I was a little bit surprised as well that Alex Lofer came in. They were working really nicely together, to be honest. The leading group of four, in particular Mateo and Alex Lofer, were swapping DRS absolutely perfectly down into turn 6 and then again down into turn number 9, extending the time gap between themselves and that chasing peloton very, very well, and they were gaining a decent amount of time. Maybe he was spooked by the pace of the two Williams cars. That's something that, if we do speak to him later, he could potentially answer for. And he's gaining, what, about, I think he gained half a second on the previous lap on those brand new mediums. Probably going to take a little bit more time out of them as those tyres come up to temperature. But really interesting how this race is unfolding. I didn't think we were going to see this splitter strategy, to be honest, as Francesco Largo is now the driver that takes over and fills the void that Alex Lofer has just left, working with Mateo.
Indeed, and Azam has come out of the pit lane ahead of Epic Vale. So a sign that pitting those couple laps earlier has been beneficial, but as they use the pace out of these mediums, not sure it's necessarily going to last. Lifeboat Francesco Largo and Matteo squabbling and battling a little bit. You also got a battle on your screen now between Alex Loafer, Oscar and Ryan involved in this, as well as Lafiti, not Alex Loafer, Oscar, Ryan and Lafiti, sorry. And Ryan is trying to get back past Oscar there as they did swap places. But in terms of the pace, how is it looking? Well, last lap, Max von Geest, who is provisionally in P1, did a 24.4. And Max von Geest is now going to take the lead of the race. So at 25.2 was his most recent lap as he just crossed the line. The fastest driver on the medium compound tyres that is representative, which I'm going to say is going to be Alex Loafer.
Epic fail? Oh yeah, Alex Loafer.
Is a 1:24.131. It's about a 1.1 second difference there. But it's one thing to catch, it's another to pass. And this circuit, yes, it's better to overtake at, but it's not exactly easy. And if they can put up a Williams brick wall, they've got a decent-ish chance, especially if those mediums do start to fade in a few laps' time.
And what we should say as well is this is now out of the hands of Epic Vale. Because, let's be honest, he's not going to get up to P6, which is the position that guarantees him the championship. Because he would have to either catch the two Williams, who would be very slow at the end, or get to the front of the chasing pack and then pick up a 4-second delta over somebody like Lifeboat or Francesco Largo. And he's going to have to waste time getting past his teammate Volokongan, Azam, as we've got a 3-wide battle going on here. It's Volokongan versus Lafferty versus Azam, the McLaren losing places. Volokongan desperate to try and hold on to them, dancing around the outside. Goes the Haas of Lafferty, still side by side in this final sector. Excellent racing, and it's picture perfect for Volokongan around the outside. Takes 9th place off the hands of the Haas. Ryder Al cruising up to the back of them, and then it's the championship leader Epic Vale. No front wing damage anymore, but does have a tyre offset in the wrong direction. First port of call in the remaining lineups, he has to get himself definitely into 7th place, because if he finished 7th, Matteo would have to win the race to take the championship off his hands.
Indeed. This is probably the first situation where Matteo has had to really overtake for a championship, and you know, Matteo's been very much used to being P1 going into that race and knowing that he's got a good chance. He's almost been in the shoes of Epic Vale, where he's just had to have a good race and knows that that championship is the other side. But I think maybe it'll be interesting to see and ask if Matteo's been feeling the pressure at all as he makes himself up into now 4th place in this race. You know, is he going to be feeling that pressure? Because he's got a really difficult, situation here. He's got to win the race or be in a really strong place in 2nd with that fastest lap to win. And I just wonder if he's feeling the heat.
Well, I think the other interloper that we need to talk about is Alex Loafer, because 2.5 seconds ahead of our Matteo, and then it's a further 2 seconds to the two Williams cars. That Alpine will catch the Williams drivers by the end of the race. I have no doubt about that. It's just whether he can catch the RB in front. Working with Lifebout and Francesco Largo with the DRS, that will help. But Alex Loafer, like you said earlier, could effectively use those two Williams cars as a barricade by the time that the Alpine, the McLaren and Aston Martin arrive on the scene. So very interesting dynamics here. We don't know whether Epic Vale is even going to finish inside the top 10, but we also don't know if our Matteo is even going to finish on the podium.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, the likes of Lifebout, the Williams, and obviously Alex Loafer and Francesco Largo, who's in the battle here as well, they're all going to be trying their hand here to do what they can to try and stop it. Lifebout on this lap is just at the fastest sector 1 that we've seen so far, and with 9 laps to go, you know, the pressure is on for all of these drivers. This is their final chance to either finish on a high, or finish feeling a little bit downbeat and not like this was a season to remember for them. So the pressure is really on for all 15 drivers here, because it's a shot of, trying to redeem yourself for a poor season, or try to show that this is, the absolute pinnacle of your racing ability. And Alex Lofer is now within that critical 1 second window of those two Williams. How much do those two Williamses want to fight that RB behind?
Well, I think they're going to be resigned to their fate. Let's be honest. Alex Lofer about a second a lap quicker at the moment on those fresher medium tyres that will be past their best, but they should still be quicker than the hard tyres that the two Williams have been on for, I think, 11 and 12 laps respectively. Armateo now drops down into 6th position. Francesco Largo leads this second group of cars trying to catch the leading trio. Then it's still 6 seconds back to Volakongan. Epic Vale still bogged down in P13, but unable to make any progress at the moment, and effectively still is relying on Armateo not winning this race, which at the moment is looking pretty good. Going to have to pass 5 cars, and he is at the back of that, we'll call it leading group, although there is 2 seconds in the middle of them, the top 3 and then the chasing 3, but things still not at all comfortable for the championship leader.
No, absolutely not at all. But he does have the fastest lap, which obviously, there is a scenario where if Epic Vale doesn't score, but Matteo is second with the fastest lap, he can win the championship by his absolute whisker. 1 point he would win it by if that scenario is to happen. So, there is a chance that, Matteo doesn't have to win the race, but it is a very slim outside chance, and it does mean he has to have an absolute race of his life. But time will absolutely tell on that one, and time is going to tell on Alex Lofer and how his race is going to pan out here as he gets past one Williams. Can he get past the second, though? He may not even get past the first as he goes side by side with Max van der Gies as I cough my guts up for no seemingly reason whatsoever. And Alex Lofer is ahead of Max van der Gies. Can he now get himself ahead of Dirk? He does. This is going to be Alex Lofer trying to ride off into the sunset here, but I have a sneaky suspicion these two Williams are going to want to hang in DRS if they can.
Yeah, clearly the strategy, the red carpet was rolled out for the Red Bull backed car, and Dirk I think is going to want to try and get dragged away from the trio that are catching behind. That gap is now down to 1.5 seconds, and it's Armateo back in the lead of that chasing group of 3. It's really fascinating, this, isn't it? The top 6 all converging on each other right in the latter stages, and Epic Vale still down in 13th position. Getting very, very dicey for him. Just needs to keep composed. It's very easy to lose your head at this point, and for him it's probably feeling a little bit like his brain's in a jam jar, but he just needs to keep this cool, because at the moment he's still the champion, and even though it is technically out of his hands, these penalties for the drivers in front of him are going to give him a boost into the World Championship points.
Indeed, yes, and that's a crucial boost into the points as well. He's just got to make sure he doesn't get any penalty of his own. He's not got a further warning since that third one that I mentioned earlier. So he is doing what he needs to do as things stand to try and deny Matteo the opportunity to seize this championship, but these two Williamses have done exactly what the doctor ordered. Kept within that 1 second window, kept the pressure on Alex Lofer. Meanwhile, the cars behind have still been able to catch up. So they're really getting to a bit of a point in this race where Matteo is going to have a real task on his hand to try and get into P1, but it isn't looking out of the realms of possibility at all, as Lifebout is now within that critical 1 second window. He will get the DRS down the straight, providing there's no timing issues with the FIA. So everything should be good for Matteo to have a chance of a charge through the field.
And he will back himself as well in these remaining 5 laps to get himself from 6th up into the lead of the race. He'll feel like the 2 Williams cars will be easy pickings. Maybe he get them both on 1 lap. That'll be interesting to see when he cruises up to the back of them. First on the scene, though, is Francesco Largo. Bit of a slide coming through turn number 5, and that may put pay to his opportunity to get past on this straight down into the braking zone of turn number 6. Dirk closing all the time up to the back of Alex Lofer, but I'm fairly certain he will not go for that overtaking manoeuvre. Did get quite close actually, Armateo, to the back of the Aston Martin. Epic Vale still 13th. If Armateo does find himself in the lead of the race come lap number 28, Epic Vale is leaving himself with a lot of work to do in the closing stages of this Grand Prix. And to be honest, he's shown absolutely no signs in the second stint of making any progress in this back group.
No, I think the progress has been slow. And I think that's just because of who he's caught up with. These drivers, they're very fierce at defending, and it's a long, long train with very little movement. They're all close to each other. They're all very, very close, within a few car lengths, but they're not quite close enough. They haven't got enough overspeed. And we've got to remember, Epic Vale bit the gun and went early. He's been on these tyres now for 9 laps already. He's still got another 4 to go, sorry. So, you know, those are going to be 14 lap old tyres by the end of the race. They're not going to have any pace.
And for Armateo as well, it is also 1 down, 4 to go, because he dived down the inside of Francesco Largo into turn number 12 and took 5th place very willingly off the hands of the Aston Martin car. So this is now getting into the realms of possibility, and that's what his engineer, if he's got an engineer of course, will be telling him. You can win this race and you can win this championship, as Alex Lofer does relinquish not just 1st but 2nd place as well, drops behind the 2 Williams cars. That's going to be an interesting dynamic. Armateo almost into the back of Lifeboat down into turn number 6. This is getting very, very interesting. Everybody's converging on each other. The leading trio are the slowest out of this group of 6, and Lifeboat getting very, very close as well, maybe sniffing an opportunity, a weakness perhaps, as he dives to the inside, darting to the left-hand side. Can he get a couple of places? Because look at this, Max von der Gies struggling for grip on his ailing hard tyres. The McLaren's already disposed of the pole sitter, Alex Lofer. He wants that 3rd place. He wants the 2nd place, but the 2 Williams enforcing the rolling roadblock and holding off the attack from the McLaren behind. Mateo right on the tail of Alex Lofer as well.
Indeed, yeah, now it's getting a bit slicey and dicey here, and it is going to be a very chaotic final couple of laps here as we are into the final 3 laps of this season and game cycle for PSF1, and it is all to play for Matteo. You may have looked at the results and the standings at this point in the championship and thought that Matteo was out of the shot and realms of possibility, but Epic Vale has had a race to forget so far, but if he wins the championship, it will not matter where he finishes. It will be a race to remember, but this is all in Matteo's court at this stage in the race. He's just got to get up to that P1 spot and finish there when the checkered flag falls, but it is a long, long road and a long, long time until that checkered flag falls, and he has not got that many laps to make those all-important moves.
Lifebout's the concern, really, for Armateo, because that McLaren is absolutely rapid. Here comes the rolling roadblock. Once again, the 2 Williams side by side down into turn number 9. Almost an opportunity for Armateo to slide down the inside of Alex Lofer. Alex Lofer trying to do the same to Lifebout in front. Are we almost backing the pack up? Late on the brakes, repeating the move he did on Francesco Largo a couple of laps ago. Inside becomes the outside. Can Armateo nab 4th place away from Alex Lofer? One of the 5 overtakes he's needed to make in the last 5 laps of the race, and he's completed the 2nd one.
Indeed, yeah, he is getting to
Max von der Gies is wide.
Oh, and this could invite Matteo, surely not for a move into turn number 1, but a compromised exit will allow him to close up, find himself in a better place here to make the move down the road. But Lifebout really needs to close up that little gap that he's got towards Dirk as well, because that's going to help Matteo as well in his chances. We're on the penultimate lap of action here in Yas Marina. Well, it is going to be a very, very interesting race as Azim.
Epic Vale's come to blows with Azim. Sorry to jump in there. The two of them were battling incredibly hard in this race. Epic Vale's now got front wing damage. He's got significant front wing damage. This is not over, everybody. The battle for the lead rages on. Mateo's dangling the Alpine up the inside of Max von der Gies, but will this be his downfall? Which way is it going to swing? Because he's lost out to Francesco Largo. Alex Lofer's side by side with him. Max von der Gies looking like a sitting duck down into turn number 9. Around the outside goes the Aston Martin, trying to follow in the footsteps is the reigning champion. He still believes that this is on, and he's back up into 4th place. Will he go down the inside once more? No, it's going to be the outside. Surely there's not enough space. There wasn't enough space. He must have picked up a warning there.
What's he doing?
Contact on the side pod. He was so close. We've got, 3 miles of this race to go. Epic Vale's down into 13th place. He will not score points. The equation is very simple. Mateo must win.
Indeed, it is indeed that do-or-die moment for Mateo. He resides in 4th as we head on to the final lap. He must finish first, otherwise Epic Vale will take a championship that he has long sought after. Epic Vale does come into the pit lane. He'll change tyres, and this maybe even, well, actually, it's in vain, because I was going to say he could try and take the fastest lap. There's no fastest lap to be taken because he won't have the time to do it. But here we go. Lifebout making the move for P1. Dirk battling side by side. This will invite the further back two to get involved in battle as well. So now Mateo up to 3rd. He will make it up to 2nd. Could he make it up into 1st? Well, Lifebout may have something to say about that as he dives to the inside, but Mateo swings it around the outside. It could be a championship once more for Mateo. We asked him at the start of the season, is the championship on? He didn't think it was, but he certainly will think it now as he rounds the final few corners in Yas Marina. He will once again hear the fabled words that he has heard all too many times. Mateo, you are champion of the world.
He nearly messed it up right at the end. He almost dropped out of the final corner by 0.2 of a second. Mateo, with the ultimate pocket pinch, has stolen it, and Epic Vale's realised it as well. Your heart has to go out to him. Qualifying ban, got bogged down, crashed with Azim. If he didn't come to blows with the McLaren, I think Epic Vale would have been okay, because there were penalties for the drivers in front. And, wow, I mean, if you were the script writer and you had suggested this, you would have been laughed out of the building.
Indeed. You cannot write it. You cannot write it. But already accusations have been thrown the way of giving up the win to make someone else a champion. But I'm sure it will mean nothing to Mateo, who once again is a PSGL champion, and that is going to be one very happy man.
Would you believe it? Blink and you'll miss it stuff. That's what it was. He was 4th at the start of the final lap, and he was 1st at the end of the final lap. And I think that is possibly the greatest comeback you would have ever seen. Winning, and remember last week as well, winning the last 2 races to come back and win the championship. It's only the 2nd time that Epic Vale has failed to score points, but he only got 1 win this season. He may have got 5 podiums, but Mateo with 4 wins, he's going to beat the Sauber in the end by 3 points. Oh. No! Yes, 3 points.
The maths was not
it was
mathing.
1 point.
The maths was not mathing for us. But what a race and what a season it has been. But here is your final race classification. Nope, it's decided not to give it to me. How nice of the game. Have you got the race classification to run us through?
You will never believe this, but I do not have the race classification.
Brilliant.
All I know is that it was Mateo that won, and it was Lifebout in 2nd place, which is good for McLaren. I think it means that Ferrari will finish with the constructors. There's a possibility as well. Did Sauber score points? Because Epic Vale might have just lost the drivers and the constructors championship in the very last race. I'm not sure where Ryderdale finished.
I have the classification. I have the classification. Provisionally, here is your race classification. Matteo takes the win and the championship, followed by Life Out 2 tenths behind. Francesco Largo a further 2 tenths behind. A second off Matteo was TF10 Dirk. Then Alex Loafer in 5th for RB. Then Volakongen. Then Max Vondergeest. Oscar Ryan, a couple of seconds behind, is then Ryderdale in 10th place. Then you have Lafitte.
They lose it then.
And Brando, followed by Bell Belly, and then Epic Vale. Nazim, your only retiree in that race.
That means that Alpine have got the constructors as well. Because the gap was 13 points. 84 for Sauber, 71 for Alpine. Alpine will go to 87 with 16 points for the win. Sauber get 1 for Ryderdale in 10th. They get another one. No, they don't for the fastest lap that Epic Vale had. So they finish on 85. And that means that Alpine win the constructors as well. It's the ultimate last minute winner. The ultimate buzzer beater from Alpine and Armateo. But I think your heart has to go out to Epic Vale. I think that's the first thing we need to get across. Very difficult to lose it in that circumstance. But at the same time, Armateo, if you wanted your champion to grab the bull by the horns in the last couple of races and keep it alive, that's exactly what he's done, and done it in some style as well.
Indeed, yeah, definitely going to be quite some style. Who is this random person in the waiting room? I've never heard of this person. PCF7, and they're sat in the waiting room. No idea who they are.
Maybe he just wants to have a chat. Maybe he was just so taken aback by what he's seen, he just needs to get some stuff off his chest.
Yes, indeed. But going to be an interesting one. The conversation and deliberation for this race definitely going to be going long into the night, I think, that one. A lot of big points, I think, to look at from that one. But yeah, definitely a few things. ET8 really feel it was ET8 Epic Vale just said everyone ET8 versus me.
What we should say as well, these are technically provisional results. These are provisional results. So just take it technically with a pinch of salt, because there may be some penalties that are handed out that boosts Epic Vale up inside the top 10. Was he 13th over the line? So he'd need maybe a couple of 10-second penalties to be given. Oh no, because I think he retired actually at the end. So that wouldn't help him either. He'd need basically Armateo to pick up a penalty, which I don't think he did anything penalty worthy, to be honest. Indeed. So I think we are crowning a back-to-back champion.
Indeed. Well, I'm gonna drag in Matteo, and let's hear from him now. Well, Matteo, that is one way to win a championship. First and foremost, mate, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Absolutely, we
Yes.
can. Well, you're certainly going to be feeling a little bit smug after that race. You came in on that final lap. You were 4th. You finished it and you were 1st. Surely you are feeling like the absolute alpha male of the field.
It was a crazy night because I thought I would be able to practice a fair bit, like not too much, but the right amount for a title finally. But I just had the opportunity to turn on my PS5 like 20 minutes prior to the race. So it was basically already 1 point lost tonight for the pole position. So yeah, nice starting position, but not good. Of course, without the point, it's basically useless. And then in the race, it was just a smart race. The top 4 guys on hards worked together pretty well. We were all pretty smart. And that way we managed to catch the 2 Williams that were in the alternate strategy. And then I'll be honest, I don't know how I managed to go from P3, 4, whatever it was, at the start of the last lap to P1 at the finish, because I didn't have that much ERS. I was P3 or P4, so of course it's hard to make up 2 or 3 positions in one lap at Abu Dhabi. But I just got an insane exit somehow out of the chicane, and yeah, that was it. I don't know how I managed to hold on in the first corner of Sector 3 because I went absolutely nice wide. But yeah, I'm glad that was enough to win the race and the title.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember when I asked you at the start of the season, after you missed the first round, I asked you if the championship was on. You said no. You said you didn't think it was. You proved yourself wrong. You proved us as commentators wrong. You really have almost set a new bar in a season so short. Does it feel satisfying to win a shorter season than it did a longer season because of how much pressure there is?
I mean, I didn't really like the format, but it might just be down to the circumstances I've had throughout the season because first race I skipped it, and of course in a shorter season it hurts more than in a longer one. And then of course I got basically taken out. I wouldn't say taken out in Silverstone, but someone spun ahead of me and I couldn't avoid and got damaged. So basically between Austria and Silverstone, it was 2 races gone. And of course, in a shorter season, that doesn't help because it's harder to gain the points back in the next races. But yeah, glad I managed to do it, and I believe it's it gives that little bit more adrenaline and that little bit more of a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely seemed to really kick a bit of fire up your backside. But questions from you, Tom.
At what point did you realise, hang on a minute, this is on, I can actually do this? Because obviously going into the race, considering you didn't get pole position, you basically had to win and hope that Epic Vale didn't score any points. At what point did you start to think, I might actually be able to win this thing?
So I started to think I could have won the championship when the top 4, 6, I don't know if the medium runners were with us as well. I started thinking the title was on at that point because, of course, less cars in the first train means Epic Vale can get less points. And even though I thought it would be up there in not even 10 laps, he didn't manage to do so for some reason. So yeah, when I saw that Epic Vale's comeback wasn't as fast as I thought it would be, and when the top guys splitted the train, there I thought, okay, I can win the race, especially because we had 2 cars on worse tires. So yeah, I thought it was off at some point because, of course, being P4 or 3 in the last lap doesn't help. But yeah, it worked out in the end.
And then just final one from me as well. Were there maybe a few nerves coming through the final corner? Because it looked from our perspective at least that you almost binned it coming around the final corner.
I mean, I'll be honest. I just tried to do a Verstappen AD 2021 impression, but it didn't work. Just glad I didn't bin it into a wall.
Well, I suppose there is nothing worse than binning it in a wall after doing all the hard work in the race. Well, congratulations, Matteo. You can hear it again. You are the champion of PSF1. Go and enjoy your evening, my friend, and I hope to see you next season.
Thank you and have a nice evening.
Congrats, Matteo.
Well, what a season. 9 rounds, a lot of pressure, a lot of drama as well. This has probably been one of the most dramatic seasons on the game. Only imagine the heart attacks that would have been had if this was the first season on the game. But it's such a great season. It's so disappointing that it's been a bit of a poor game cycle, but hey, we look forward to the future.
100%. And I'd love to see some of these guys come back on the new game. I'd love to see Epic Vale come back on F1 25 and get over the line, because this will hurt, obviously, but, the only way to bounce back is to bounce back stronger. And he's obviously got the pace and he's obviously got the consistency. He had one bad race, realistically, and that was today. So, like we said, heart goes out to him because it's so disappointing to lose it in that fashion. But I'm sure from what we've seen and the struggles that he's had over the last couple of weeks. Qualified, I think he was on the back row 2 weeks ago in Singapore. I think he was 12th last week as well. Obviously started last this week. He has shown immense fight and immense character when his back was very much up against the wall. So, yeah, hopefully he's one of the drivers that does come back.
Indeed, I hope there's many drivers that come back, and I hope that all of you at home will come back as well. We've got a bit of an extended break now as we gear up for F1 25, so expect news to come across all of our social media channels, which you can find by giving a search for @PremierSimGL. If you have a little gander, you will find any information about sign-ups, calendar, or anything future for F1 25. We have no details to share at present, but I'm sure they aren't far away. So keep an eye out there for all of those juicy deets. But that is pretty much us done for season 39. Next one is the big 4-0.
Ooh. It feels a long time away, though, doesn't it? But we'll be back in the future, of course. And it's not that far away. I know you made it sound like it was a while away, but it will come round very, very quickly, I'm sure. And just for me as well, to sign off, pleasure being involved in PSF1 for the very first time this season. Very, very enjoyable, and we've had a wonderful championship battle.
Indeed, we absolutely have, and it has obviously from me been an honour to cast alongside you. It's the first season that I've actually had casting alongside you, so it has been great. It's not my first rodeo in PSF1 though, so I can't claim that one as well, but it is my first full season, so I'll take that on the chin. But I'm sure myself, Tom, and all of the amazing commentators and drivers will be back for season 40 of PSGL. Keep an eye out on the socials for details to come for that, but I'm sure we will be back sooner than you think. But until then, when PSGL returns, take care, enjoy the bit of a break. We'll be back very, very soon. But until then, bye-bye.